So I went and got every single achievement for Kingdom Come Deliverance while in hardcore mode with all 9 negative perks active just in time for the upcoming sequel. So a slight bit of background. I did play Kingdom Come Deliverance originally way back in January 2022, almost 3 years ago, but I just printed through the story in order to fight Runt while taking a small detour to romance Teresa and only ended up getting about 8 achievements, which were super simple and basically just for completing a few missions. And then I just randomly decided to quit for no real reason. And now that the sequel is running around the corner, coming out in February 2025, I decided now would be the perfect time to fully experience the life of Henry in his absolute weakest form. So for those who might not know what hardcore mode is, I'll go over a quick overview. But for those who are familiar, just go ahead and skip ahead using the timestamp below. The main changes for hardcore is that there is no autosave, no fast travel, no player icon on the map, and you can't see your health and stamina bars. On top of that, we have the 9 negative perks, which were as follows: Brutal Bones, where you suffer much worse injuries when you fall; Claustrophobia, where wearing a helmet with a visor weakens your attacks; Consumption, where you have less stamina and it regenerates much more slowly; Hemophilia, where all it takes is a scratch and then you bleed out pretty fast and die; Nightmares, where every time you sleep you're going to wake up with your stats reduced by 2 for a few hours; Numbskull, which lowers the acquisition of experience, and this is without a doubt the main cause of my pain, as getting to level 20 on some of those main stats was just horrifying. There's also Shakes, which affects archery, pickpocketing, and lockpicking, but honestly I didn't even notice it happening ever. And then there's Somnolent, which is sleepwalking, where you'll occasionally just wake up in a random area nearby where you originally slept. And then the final negative perk is Tapeworm. You get hungrier a lot faster, which is pretty annoying since you have to buy food all the time. In terms of planning, I decided I wanted to do one run where I get the vast majority of trophies in the game while reloading for a few exclusive ones. And then I would do a second run after beating the game, which would be for the Merciful/Virgin run. I also randomly decided to keep Pebbles as my steed for the entirety of the game, for no real particular reason other than to just make myself suffer. Now, since I do have some limited experience with the game previously, and I remembered it being pretty easy, I figured this would be a breeze and I wouldn't really encounter any obstacles whatsoever. But unfortunately, I seem to have a worse memory than a chimpanzee, as I immediately got wrecked by Kanesh and got sent crying back to my mother in order to heal. In order to relieve my anger, I got into a brawl with Deutsch's crew and immediately came face to face with the hardest enemy in the entire game, which is the camera targeting in group fights. It is absolutely awful, and I do hope that it will be slightly improved in the sequel, as it's just horrible. After returning back to my father after finishing my chores, I completed the first achievement, Blacksmith's Son, where our lovely life in Skalitz then came to an end, and I had to whistle in order to save Teresa, which received the Cavalier achievement, and then began my escape to Talberg. This is where the hemophilia negative perk came into play, as while escaping you basically get shot by an arrow and then you're bleeding, so I actually died quite a few times trying to get to Talberg, which awarded me with the Kingdom Did Not Come achievement for dying in hardcore mode. After about 3 or 4 tries, I finally arrived at Talberg safely, where Henry immediately threw himself back into danger at Skalitz, where I absolutely destroyed some random looters, and then got my unarmed redemption by beating up Zbyszek. Yeah, he only ended up beating me because I was overloaded, otherwise he would have been out cold in like 2 seconds. I then took another loss against Runt, and then awoke and joined Sir Radzig's garrison, earning the Awakening achievement. After taking so many losses, it was now time for my training arc, where I trained under Master Bernard for literal hours in order to become one with the sword. While training against him, I also tried to work towards the 100 combo achievement, but he's a bit too good with Master Strikes, so I just gave up and stopped training after I got level 5 with the sword and unlocked Master Strike. I do know you only need level 3 for Master Strike, but I didn't realize at the time, so I just went with level 5. At this time, the first tourney was starting in Rete, so I decided it was time to show off my training while also showing off and earning more combos in the tournament. But I might have focused a bit too much on getting combos as I lost in the fourth round. With yet another loss under my belt, I went and took out all of my aggression on Kunesh, which gave me a much needed win for my confidence. After that, I went ahead and started another brawl against Hans Capon, and then was punished with going hunting with them, which is also the first time I really started doing archery and hunting. And honestly, you need to be a gold medal Olympic archer in order to hit anything at all with the bow in this game, because I couldn't hit anything. And just when I was on a small high from winning a few brawls, I got ambushed by a group of bandits while hunting, and then came face to face with my favorite trio of dancing skeletons yet again. Luckily, saving Hans was a much simpler fight as there was only 2 humans, which rewarded me with the achievement Buddy. Running off of that small victory, I went and won the next tourney that was going on, proving that the redemption arc was finally in full effect. At this time, I also got a few side achievements like Insomniac, Fatso, and Rectic while waiting for the next tourney to begin. Moving along with the main story, I went ahead and saved Ginger for the Ginger and a Pickle achievement, where all you actually have to do is kill the camped bandits when tasked by the charcoal burners. Shortly after, I took a side detour for romance and then completed the courting of Teresa for the McLovin achievement, while also beginning the questline for Lady Stephanie. On the way to Sasau for Lady Stephanie, I ran into Black Peter, who wanted payback for his loss in the tourney, and honestly, he killed me quite a few times because of that poison. Continued to travel the entire map for Lady Stephanie. I kept getting ambushed by bandits, where I found the strategy for the 50 headshots with the bow achievement, which is just shooting them in the head while they are surrendered. But somehow I'm just so bad with the bow that I still miss. After completing the Lady Stephanie quest and putting on the shirt for the Casanova achievement, I received my second tourney win, receiving yet another wonderful piece of the Lepa armor set, and then also getting my combo count up to 95 out of 100. It was now time for the greatest quest in gaming history, drinking with Father Godwin, awarding the Sinner achievement, and I really do hope there will be more quests like this in the sequel, as quests like this were hands down my favorite in this game. Continuing along with the main story, I began to show off more of Henry's martial prowess by destroying the bandits at Timmy's Mill, and then won the 5th tourney needed for the Arena Master achievement, which granted me the entire Lepa armor set, which just looks amazing, along with the 100 combo achievement of Fighter. And now came time to reach my stopping point from 3 years ago, where I faced off against Runt at Pribyslavitz. I actually did pretty bad during the main battle on my first attempt, and started the duel against Runt with 15 health, and I unfortunately died and had to do the whole thing over again. But on my second attempt, I did manage to beat him and then receive the Runt achievement. That duel did take over 8 minutes, which I don't really know if that's a normal thing or I'm just really bad, but maybe that's just how it is for hardcore Runt. This is where I took a pause from the main story in order to work towards the Trial by Error achievement, where I had to rebuild the entirety of Pribyslavitz without being able to read. I also started Matthew and Fritz's questline to get them jobs, since they're pretty much just bums and can't do anything without any help whatsoever. And then since it was usually but a week before you could start their next quest in the chain, I was just going around doing the bandit clearing activity around Ratay and Talmberg, while selling all of the armor and taking advantage of the final offer perk in order to haggle for more money. And this is where I received the Ranger achievement for walking 50 kilometers, the Scrooge achievement for having over 5,000 groschen at one time, and the Haggler achievement for saving 2,000 groschen by haggling. When I reached 50,000 groschen, I began the rebuilding of Pribyslavitz, which was starting with the woodcutter, trader, and the bridge, which is mandatory. I went around the map grabbing the cheap suppliers, which were Ginger, Charcoal Burner, getting the grain from Semmelbesh, and then getting the butcher meat from Ujits. While sleeping at Pribyslavitz, I realized that it would sleepwalk me over to Skalitz due to the negative perk, literally right next to where the 2 groups of enemies were always fighting. So this saved me a lot of time from having to randomly find enemies, and it ended up being my main source of money by just killing whoever was left alive from the fighting and then just looting everyone. I did build the forge first in previous levels in order to get the blacksmith vendor so I could sell everything at once since it's right next to Scarlet's. And then I went and built literally everything else that was not the red house and the church, as those would cost too much and prevent me from reaching the 2,000 groschen per day achievement. Once I finished upgrading all of the buildings that were not the red house and the church, I ended up getting the perfectionist achievement and then started working on the red house and church. Once those were done, I ended up getting the trial by error and Bayless achievements, which essentially ended the money grind for the rest of the game. I know I went over this pretty fast, but this money grind took a few IRL days to complete, and I definitely died quite a few times while trying to get the loot and skeletons. But if I was to go over everything, this video would be multiple hours long, and I didn't really want that. I then went after the win 1000 groschen by gambling achievement. Earlier in the game, I had attempted this and earned a lovely 0 groschen with the 0 win to 9 loss record. But now that I went and picked up the perfect throw perk and agility, which was honestly amazing, and then the wins came quite easily, and I won all 1000 groschen in 13 games by just betting with the people at the inn right outside of Rate. Shortly after, I went to Ujits and allowed Henry to learn how to read, and then went around and just bought a whole bunch of books in preparation for the 20 book achievement, but I just found out that you could earn it just by learning alchemy recipes, and I got the achievement pretty easily. I was low on money again at this point after buying all those books, so I went back to Scarlet's a few times, and ended up completing the sniper achievement for 50 headshots with the bow, as well as the thief achievement by just looting the guards. Going back to Ujits, I completed Father Godwin's side quest and chose to dance with the ladies and during the bad trip achievement. This quest line was absolutely hilarious, and I definitely enjoyed how weird it was. Finishing off the remainder of Matthew and Fritz's quest was pretty boring, but I did start their final quest, Rock in a Hard Place, in order to receive the Judas achievement. In order to get the Judas achievement, you have to grab Andrew's quest, Gallows Brothers, and then steal the quarry money and frame Andrew, Matthew, and Fritz to Rhubarb. And then once you ride back to the end of the glade, interact with the bodies and you'll receive the Judas achievement. I reloaded this save back to right before I accepted Gallo Brothers from Andrews, and just went and stole the quarry money without talking to Andrew at all, and then just gave the money to Matthew and Fritz, and the quest ended, and I was able to invite them to previous Lovitz for the Friends with No Benefits achievement. Henry then joined Holmes on a trip to the bathhouse, where we just partied for the entire night while also getting into a few brawls in order to unlock the Robber Baron quest line. I then realized I had to complete questions and answers for the Robber Baron quest, so then I made my way over to Myriad, where I received the Traveler achievement for going to all locations, and then I completed the side quest Pestilence and just made sure to heal everyone by giving the monk the correct symptoms from the book in order to learn the recipe and brew it myself. After going back to Myriad, I gave the remedy to every marked house and then healed the prisoner as well. After waiting for a few days, I went back to the bailiff and got the Plague Doctor achievement. After that, I did the Talmberg race, where the horse given is just absolutely terrible, and I only won because of the Roka over the quarry directly to the finish line, earning the Knight Rider achievement. I also did the Talmberg Huntsman quest line and sided with the Fallen Noble in order to oust the current Huntsman and earn the Master Huntsman achievement, while also getting a neat house of my own to stay at, as well as the ability to hunt game without it counting as poaching. I randomly decided now is the time to do Woman's Lot, so I became Teresa for the next 4 hours and did absolutely 0 chores for the Batgirl achievement, and then made sure to fight Henry for the Death by Splinter achievement. I tried to help Johanka out with Matthias, but I ended up getting caught by the guards when I tried to steal the dice, and I got jailed and had to do the rest of the beginning of Woman's Lot with the jail debuff, which basically meant I failed every single speech check. On the last quest, I completed Savior, which was pretty straightforward, which is just helping each survivor with their task in the respective zones. Teresa is honestly a badass, and it's pretty much a shame that she seems to be left in dust for the sequel. Now it was time to prepare for Johanka's portion of Woman's Lot, so I completed the Cleric's Lot quest and recruited Father Simon, as well as the Waldegians quest line. After that, I completed In God's Hands and just completed all of the tasks in order to heal everyone. I did get jailed for insulting the custodian, but I'd saved most of everyone by that point, so it didn't really have any consequences as far as I could tell. I now began the questline Madonna of Sasau and earned the Infernal Justice achievement, where after defeating the Scout's murderer, you have to drop him into the same hole that he dumped his victims. The next quest, I had to drink to oblivion with Ambrose, and I basically just picked all of the options that had the 3 drinking icons, and then I blacked out and got the achievement. I reloaded the save in order to get the good ending for Angel of Mercy, and just picked the drinking option with only 2 icons 4 times, and then asked him to play dice. I then had to hustle him by losing twice while betting small, and then bet everything on the 3rd, and then absolutely just destroyed him. I then took a detour and did the armor bearing questline with Hans and Bernard, but Bernard's men got absolutely wrecked, and I had to solo the entire bandit camp by myself. Out of spite, I carried his cousin's body all the way back to Bernard just so they could realize how much they all suck. While in Rete, I began progressing along the Executioner's questline. At a nearby bandit camp, I also ended up getting the last 3 stealth kills I needed, while also coincidentally getting the 200 total kills achievement. For some reason, the Executioner's final quest wasn't starting, so I went and did the next DLC for the Amorous Adventures of Bold Sir Hans Keepon, where I went ahead and got the I Can Quit Any Time achievement by winning the dice tournament at the bandit camp. I won 4 times and lost 1 time, so you do not have to win every single one. And then I reloaded the save in order to get the Ghost of Keepon achievement by just killing the guard by the door with the bow, and then looting the necklace. After bringing the necklace back to Hans, he sent me off to the charlatan in Sasau, where I bought the potion recipe, and then I went back to Hans and studied the poems from the book he gave. While hiding in the bushes and directing Hans during his romance attempt, I picked the options that matched the beginning of the 9th poem paragraph, as well as blaming the French. Once the father showed up, I just sang the entire time after running out of skill checks, and this gave me the Wingman achievement. Once I went back to Hans in the morning, I received True Friend. This is where I realized I skipped the charlatan quest in the DLC, so I went back and did the first quest to get him kicked out of Sasau and go to Ledechko. Once in Ledechko, I began the DLC Haunting quest, which is pretty straightforward. You just have to do all of the tasks without getting caught. It is pretty easy to do if you do it at nighttime. But after digging up the remains initially, I made a save and then went for the Christian burial achievement by just taking the remains over to Rete and then burying it in the church. I reloaded and did the same for the not-so-Christian burial achievement by burying him by his family in Ledechko. For the achievement Ledechko Revenant, you do need to do 2 additional tasks on top of every other objective. I chose to do the bailiff objective by convincing the hooligans, as well as throwing rotten eggs in the well, which was started by talking to the crusher. I was now finally able to start the final executioner quest. It was going pretty well until I got caught trying to put the sword back, and I had to crawl my way out of there. At first it seemed like I was safe, but they did report the crime and I ended up going to jail for 7 days, giving me the convict achievement. However, I was still able to go directly to the executioner and complete the quest, earning me the Spoil Sport achievement after watching the failed execution. I then continued the main quest by completing all necklacers, and if you can't beat them, by just doing super in-depth investigations around Sasau until you end up meeting the bandit recruiters in the church and are tasked with infiltrating the monastery. I received the monastery writ by murdering Carl's guardian with the bow, who I honestly wanted to just knock out, but they were going way too fast for me to catch. But once I was inside, I spent around 3 to 4 hours in the monastery, just going around and doing all of their side quests while trying to figure out who was pious. It was honestly pretty cool. It reminded me a lot of the game Pentiment. After reading the abbot's list and discovering who the abbot thought was suspicious, I accused Antonius, and he was basically just like, yeah, it's me. I then followed his plot, but seconds before I could tell him I got the fake blood, I randomly got arrested and put in solitary confinement, and then had to wait that entire day again. After I was finally able to proceed with this plot, I murdered him once we were outside, and then found out that he had no dice on him at all, which confused me, but I went to the meeting place anyways, and luckily I was able to just bribe them in order to get into their camp. A quick side note before the King Charming achievement, I earned it right after I unlocked the reputation for the monastery, and this is what the rep looked like at the time when I earned it. Since the next quest gives a point of no return message, I then went and continued with the Madonna of Sasau quest. Now that I had all of the requirements for Cleric's Pet, I did the quest to save Adela while also pickpocketing Helson for the Voyeur achievement. Before continuing, I took another detour and finished brewing 15 unique potions for Edward Kelly achievement, picked 10,000 herbs on the road from Ratai to Telmberg for David Horak, and then drank a whole bunch of random beer and wine for the alcoholic achievement. I also happened to kill enough animals to get the Hunter achievement for 50 animal kills while I was nearby the woods to Telmberg. I then went back to continue the Madonna Sasso achievement and stealth killed the humans at the camp in order to get Pavel's dagger and the Leica Ghost achievement. Also made sure when donating you have to do it in Pavel's name. I don't think it actually matters where you actually donate to, you just have to do it in his name. After Johanka did another sermon and we finished the brawl, I instantly got the Full House Sinner achievement when talking to Johanka for killing Runt, killing someone else, sleeping with Lady Stephanie, sleeping with the bathhouse staff, stealing but getting caught, going to jail, and then being drunk. I then went on my pilgrimage and made sure to read the book given by God. Once I returned to Sasa, the Inquisitor had arrived where I snitched and got the Cleric's Pet achievement. I then went around town gathering all witnesses and convinced Johanka with the help of Matthias to not provoke the Inquisitor. I started the trial, and after summoning all witnesses and doing the 2 speech checks, I got the Angel of Mercy achievement and finished the Woman's Lot DLC. I then started the final DLC regarding Sir Kuno. After winning the initiation fight, I began the Ring of Bacchus game and made sure to go to sleep with it in my inventory. This is to make sure it gets stolen, which gives you the Lost Trinket achievement. After going on the first patrol, I made sure to follow the radar tracks to receive the Tracker achievement. On the second patrol, you just have to pass a simple speech check and Kuno will attack the mill, earning you Chivalrous Soul. At this point, I went ahead and finished the Ring of Bacchus minigame and got the Game Over achievement. I tracked down Jakey after his betrayal of the third patrol and made a save to Torturer, where you just wait 24 hours without untying him, and then I reloaded and got Pinky Promise by untying him without doing the speech check. On the final mission for Sir Kuno, I just did another speech check to convince him to stay loyal and earn Mercenary's honor. Now that all of the DLCs are done, I can easily say Woman's Lot was my favorite, but the rest were all still pretty fun. Although the one regarding Sir Kuno and his band I feel was just a little bit too short. I then went back to the main quest and earned the Bastard achievement after infiltrating Vrennick. I received Conqueror during the Payback main quest, which led to the main quest of Siege, where you have to do every single objective in order to get the Talmberger achievement. During Family Values main quest, in order to get the Freud achievement, you have to succeed all of Eric's speech checks. They weren't too hard, but I did have a speech of 19 at the time, and my charisma was already pretty high due to my armor. All that was left after this was just beating the game and watching the credits roll. Once I got to the part of the game that leads up to Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, I went around trying to frantically get my speech up, finishing off any remaining side quests as well as looking up the location of the third speech book. After doing every single side quest I could find, looks like I did 94 quests total, and reading all speech books, I was still 14 points away from the max level of 20, so I wouldn't go in trouble with a few guards, but eventually all of their checks grayed out, and I wasn't getting any XP. So I went to Sir Bernard, and he had a bunch of XP just for picking his different training options. This is when I got level 20 speech and the Bard achievement just by talking to the soldier that told me Sir Hans was not going to wait for me anymore for the epilogue. After that, I still had to do the main stat level 20 grind, so I went back to Bernard for agility training as well as just jumping in one spot in order to level up vitality. After level cap, I went around to any shrines that I missed in order to earn the Pilgrim achievement. With those out of the way, I finally went to the epilogue where I earned Tis But a Scratch and Hardcore Henry. So I'm free now, right? Wrong. It's not over yet as I now began the entire Merciful/Virgin playthrough. The beginning of the run was pretty much the same as the previous until I had to go back to Scarlet's. I avoided the first two looters, but the next two I stabbed first with Rising Sword in order to get them to bleed, as deaths caused by bleeding or poison don't count as a kill, and then finished them off with an arm. Once I was back in Rete, I yet again began training with Bernard, but this time I stopped at level 3 sword once I unlocked Master Strike. While doing the main quest Prey when rescuing Sir Hans, I still knocked down one bandit at the camp and then fought the other one unarmed. For some reason Sir Hans became bugged and I couldn't interact with him. After reloading the exit save, luckily Sir Hans became interactable again, and I could proceed and then become reunited with Pebbles the goat. For the main quest where you investigate Neuhof, I went straight to where the bandits were in the woods, and then once the objective changed to find Ginger, I went back to Bernard, and he killed the bandit for me. With Ginger in a pickle, I went straight to the charcoal burner and bribed one who led me to the twins, where I simply lied and said I already killed the bandits. I then went to Ginger and lied yet again, but you could probably also get Bernard to kill the bandits for you, but I didn't want to have to make multiple trips to Neuhof. During Mysterious Ways, I declined the offer to drink with Godwin, as that would prevent the Virgin achievement, and had to go over to Rete and convince the scribe to read me the Black Chronicle. On the way to Ledeshko, I still knocked out Black Peter in order to get his poison sword, which was pretty useful to speed up a few fights with the poison. After that, I was able to ride straight to Riki's cave, immediately ran away on Pebbles once the bandits showed up, and then headed to Timmy's windmill. I tried to lie to the bandits at the windmill, but my speech was too low, so I had to make use of the sprinter perk to create enough distance, and then rode away on Pebbles to safety yet again. In Baptism of Fire, my allies did most of the fighting, while I just lit some hay on fire and cheered them on. Runt got knocked out pretty quickly compared to last run where I stole all of his armor, waited for him to get back up, and then knocked him out again, which ended the quest, but also kept my kill count at 0 for the entirety of the run. For questions and answers, I didn't feel like doing the whole disease side quest again, so I tried knocking out Melikar and the Watchman, but neither of them had the key to the prisoner on them. Luckily, one of the villagers on Melikar's farm was able to be bribed to leave the door open, allowing me to speed up the prisoner's illness and loot the note needed to start the next quest. All of that glisters was super fast, as I just straight to the mine in Scarlet's, sprinted to the end and dueled Sir Jessic with the poison sword and then arrested him. I received the monastery writ peacefully this time, and once inside to climb the door, and immediately accused Antonius of being pious. I then ordered the fake blood and grabbed the monastery keys from the kitchen. I did unfortunately have to still do a full day of chores while waiting for the fake blood, but once we escaped I let Pius go, and then received his dice. To escape Fronic, I just beelined straight to the hole in the wall, and then basically was home free from there. For the fight and payback, the allies did much of the fighting, although when having to clear the tent area, I didn't know you could just go forward to skip it, so I took quite a beating after my allies died. Once fighting in Telberg, I sprinted past everyone and went to the portcullis, then going into the quest Cold Steel Hot Blood. Once again, the allies do the vast majority of the work while I continue to cheer them on. For the final battle in An Oath is an Oath, you might see Henry surrounded here and think it's game over. However, Henry's heroic diversion allowed for my allies to swoop in from behind and win the siege. I thought it was finally all over, but when I tried to reach the camp to end the game, I found out you had to complete the Sir Hans DLC. I tried my best to get out of doing the quest, but was unable to, and had to unfortunately proceed. Out of spite, I did make sure that Sir Hans failed at his attempt, but now that the DLC was completed, I finally ended the game and earned the Merciful and Virgin achievements. And last but not least, I started another hardcore game, immediately ran to the town to get arrested for stealing, which earned the 82nd and final achievement of Firestarter. I thoroughly enjoyed earning every achievement, as Kingdom Come Deliverance is so unique in the experience it offers, and even more so while in hardcore mode. Seeing Henry's journey as a blacksmith's son, to now being involved in the Margrave's plot to back King Wenceslas was incredible, and I cannot wait to be able to continue his journey in a few weeks in the sequel. Now, making this video took a lot longer than I initially expected due to work being quite busy even during the holiday period, so I was originally planning to do a similar video to this, but for Outer Worlds, since its sequel will also be coming out later this year. I unfortunately don't think I can finish that before KCD2 comes out, so I'll try and see if I can plan a shorter game like 9 Souls, since I've heard quite a few things about it. If not, then my next video will be once I get every achievement for KCD2, fingers crossed for hardcore mode on release, so it might be quite a while before I finish a new video. Sorry for all of my rambling at the end here, and I'm not even sure if anyone will even watch this far, But if you have, then thank you for watching. Appreciate it immensely. And please let me know what you think of this video's format in the comments below. Any and all feedback would be greatly appreciated. In any case, thanks again for watching, and hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.